And right now, it's time for us to move into the first discussion, and it has to do with HIV/AIDS, today being World AIDS Day, and how it is connected to gender-based violence, because whether you like it or not, there is a connection. Now, globally, 75% of new HIV infections are among adolescents aged 10 to 19, and Nigeria so far has 190,950 HIV/AIDS infections per year, with the second highest rate of new infection in sub-Saharan Africa. Now, to link this with gender-based violence, factors like gender-based violence places women and adolescent girls at an increased risk of HIV infection, when it comes to some activities like rape, and other things that, has to do with how the men treat women. It is a major factor. And in the studio, we're joined by Damilola Idris, and she's the Project Officer, Women's Rights Advancement and Protection Alternative, Wrapa. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
All right, so let's move on to the first question that we have. Now, some institutions now link gender-based violence, and HIV/AIDS. What is the connection and why is it?
Like you said earlier, GBV, it's women being... GBV, basically, if we're looking at GBV as a whole, it's women being violated, harmful practices, and a whole lot of
sexual abuse.
It entails a whole lot. So there's a connection in the sense that if you're looking at rape, which is sexual violence, people can actually contact HIV through that via the perpetrators of rape. And looking at it, you would say, why will people actually be discriminated because of they have AIDS? This is something that people can actually manage and live with. It's just like someone having diabetics and you're living with it. It can be managed. There are drugs for managing these things. And you see a lot of people being discriminated because of that. Like there are cases, the organization I work with, Wrapa, there are cases where we've had women that have HIV, and maybe it was discovered while they were married, and some of these women, maybe the husband actually contacted it and brought it into the house, and the wife contacted it.
All right, so tell us about Wrapa and what you do.
In Wrapa, basically, Wrapa means Women's Rights Advancement and Protection Alternative. What we do in Wrapa is we are strongly for women's rights. We protect women's rights. We help women, we enlighten women on their rights, help them understand that you have rights. You have rights to own properties. You have rights to living rights. To you being a woman as a whole, you just living your life.
All right. Now, you have other things aside, rape, which is a means through which women, contract HIV. FGM is also another key factor here, female genital mutilation. It's an ancient practice, but we find that even till date, these practices, are still apparent in some villages and some local communities. Are we moving away from that? Do we have enough awareness, for people to move away from those kind of, harmful practices?
I would say a lot of people feel we that work in the development sector, we are just noisemakers. Even this whole 16 days of activism is all about GBV. And what's this GBV? We are looking at all forms of GBV, including the harmful practices. So when you look at, there are states that actually have been practicing this, even for, it's not just for young girls, they also practice this on even older women, as like maybe if some of them are in that widowhood stage where their husband just passed, so they see it as a way to actually help them to go through the whole widowhood thing and all of that. But see, advocacy has been going on for years, and trust me, there are lots of people that are getting to know about these things, that, oh, these things, they are actually harmful. At the end of the day, some generations keep using razor blades and all sorts of sharp objects for years, like they don't change these sharp objects. And besides, a lot of NGOs go out sensitizing people on the needs to, on the harmful, on basically harms with these practices. That is not just about your culture, what you've actually held on to for years, but it's all about, are you healthy at the end of the day after you actually do this? Because a lot of people still, like you said, HIV at the end of the day, through sharing of blades and all sorts.
Okay. I actually read somewhere that victims of childhood sexual abuse are more likely to be HIV positive. How true is that?
Very true. Because like we learned, HIV could be transferred from through sex. So it's very, very possible that a child could actually contact that. Because there aren't children that are actually violated with objects. So it could be a metallic object, and who knows where that object is coming from. So
okay, now recently we saw a report by the United Nations about the number of, the rates of rape cases, and other forms of abuse, against women in the year 2020. That seem to have increased. About 11,200 cases of rape were reported, in 2020 alone. What does this say about where we're heading, and how did we even got to that point in the first place?
Okay, the thing is, how do we even ascertain that there was a rise? Because the reason why it looks like as if there was a rise, and of course, yes, there is a rise, and it's rising, is because, yes, it's been underreported for years. Last year, COVID, a lot of people did not have places to go. People just, because most times when people just go through these things, they will just have to call the police. So there was lots, like a lot of people were really aware, and people were able to report. And social media has a way of also helping people share their stories, share their experiences. So it was a way people could actually just report, tell people, oh, this is, my neighbor did this to his daughter, my neighbor, something happened to so person in my locality, and all of that. So there is a rise, but there is a way it can be curbed. That's why there is so much awareness. That's why there's been a 30-year-long of celebration on basically, it's not just a celebration, it's just to also make people aware that these vices are in the society. We can all join hands together to curb this thing. Great. TV TrustTV, you are interviewing us. This is a way of creating awareness. This is campaign. This is you people actually helping us do our work, joining hands with us, collaborating with us to actually spread this word that these things exist. It doesn't have to happen to someone beside us or someone close to us before we actually know what to do and how to go about things. So there's just been this culture of silence, actually. People actually glorify the fact that they don't have to report these things. How will I look when I actually report that I've been raped? How will I look if I report that I've been sexually harassed? So if these things, thank God we have media organizations partnering with us and helping us spread the word. If these things if there is noise from every corner, these things will be curbed. And if people actually frown at these things, because you see people actually are aware that their neighbor is actually abusing his wife, nobody will report. Everybody will just keep quiet, because we have this thing where we just feel, oh, we don't have to report. If we report, it's none of my business. But it concerns everybody.
Exactly, which is why I'm going to ask, we have this mentality that, well, it's a husband and wife affair. You hear cases of violence, next door, and then you don't even know what to do. So what are people expected to do in such scenarios where you see cases of violence, against women?
In cases where you see violence against women, there's so much awareness about places you can actually report. Like in Wrapa, we actually advise victims to first of all report to the police, because if it's a domestic violence issue, if it's a physical violence issue, we just ask you to report first of all to the police. Most of everything we do is the police, because we don't prosecute. We actually just assist to get...
For the third party now. I'm talking about the third party, not the victim, not the person involved. Someone who is not directly involved. In
someone that probably just heard. Okay. And basically what we actually advise people like that to do is we advise them to just reach out to an organization that handles cases as such. There is NAPTIP. NAPTIP is a federal government institution that handles cases as like this. We have a lot of NGOs that deal with issues on violence. Any sort of violence. We have NGOs that specifically for such.
Well, that's more on, like, let me paint a picture here.
Okay.
You are in your house, okay, and you heard noise.
Okay.
Someone is beating his wife and all of that, and it's a very, I would say, worrisome noise you are hearing. Someone is in danger.
Yeah.
And if nothing is done, that person could, only God knows what will happen, maybe even be killed, in the process. So how do you respond? Like, urgently, there is an emergency here. So you may not have the time to go to NAPTIP or to go to this or to do that. How do you intervene? That's
why I said the first point of contact is the police. Because what if you go there and something drops on your head? There is a what if. But if you can actually be the first responder by going there to intervene, by going there to calm the situation down, it's perfect. You can go there, calm the situation down. Or better still, you can call the police. Because the police is actually the agency that is given the power by the law to actually restore order in the society. So the police should actually be the first responder, but you can actually be the first responder as a neighbor by just calming the situation down and trying to intervene by settling whatever it is and making sure the person that is being hurt or that is at harm's way is taken out of that.
Okay, we know for a fact that sometimes it takes, authorities a while to, respond. So what of, and we've heard stories of a lot of women who have actually died due to, gender-based violence. So what happens, in such cases? And then probably if, as a neighbor, you try to, intervene in the situation and nothing works out, because you actually have cases where even the person being abused will tell you to stay out of it.
Exactly. Yeah. That's also another
which you cannot even force. Even we that we deal with, we work with a lot of women that have been abused. You can't force someone that is abused to actually seek for justice. But as a state, Nigeria has the right, and the law has the right to actually prosecute the person that is beating you, because the person that is beating you or causing harm to you is actually, the state. That's how it's supposed to be. But a lot of times people actually see it as it's just the family. It's the state, because the person that is actually harming the other person is a threat to the state. Because if he can beat you, that means he can go on the street and beat everybody on the street.
So talking about
the doesn't the abused need to press charges first?
The abused needs to press charges, but there are cases where the abused never see a reason to press charges.
So talking about pressing charges, talking about the laws, talking about the state and all of that. Yes, we have what is ideal and what should be on one hand. But again, we have also the reality, which is shaped, sometimes by our culture, our values and our, thinking, the society generally, and all of that. So looking at laws, have we domesticated enough laws to curb, the rising cases of gender-based violence in our country as we have it now?
We have the Wrapa Act. We have we have a lot of acts, but the VAP Act is the main act that it was passed in 2015. We still have states that have not domesticated the VAP Act, which is sad. Because the VAP Act doesn't, a lot of people still feel the VAP Act is just about protecting women. It protects men too. It's because it's just about helping you, like it's just about protecting your dignity as a human being. That's what the VAP Act is there for. So we have acts, we have the Constitution, we have Child Rights Acts to protect children and all of that. We have a lot of these acts.
What about men? Because some men, you know, are abused by women as well. And I'm speaking on behalf of, you know, people like...
No, you're not speaking.
Okay, okay.
You're not speaking
no,
on
like,
behalf
okay,
of
on behalf of men, on behalf of men in general.
That's why I said the VAP Act actually covers men too. But people actually feel the VAP Act is for women alone. But the VAP Act equally protects men too, because it has every part, every section in the VAP Act equally speaks to men too, speaks to issues of abuse too to men, because men are being abused. But little, it's underreported, because there's still this culture of silence too, even with men, because a lot of men are ashamed to even speak out that, oh, my wife is beating me, or I'm going through emotional abuse and all of that.
How does that even sound?
It's worse with them then. It's worse with
How
men.
does that even
Yes,
sound?
it is worse actually,
Silence.
because trust me, I'm sure there are men that actually
don't believe in hitting women back, and you know, and so when the woman does the hitting, you know, they don't know how to handle it, and they just, you know,
they just stay in silence. And they
So,
probably
so there's
die.
a lot of psychology around this.
Yeah.
You know, like what you just said now. Maybe the men feel like, oh, okay, it's a sign of me showing love and care.
Yeah.
And for the women as well, there is a thinking that, oh, okay, well, he beats me, it's my husband. It's my own way of showing submission and all of that. How do we change that narrative?
That's why we have to keep talking. Talk doesn't stop. We have to keep talking. We have to keep enlightening people, because education is not a one-time thing. Education is something that keeps going on. Because a lot of us, okay, we probably graduated from primary school, secondary school, university. You are working somewhere. On the job, you are learning. So learning is something that continues. So when I see people that actually frown at the fact that we actually do a lot of campaigns every year to actually educate people, campaign is something that we are just doing to educate people, tell people, oh, these things, this is how to go about this thing. There are people that will say, oh, I did not know it was a problem for me to just keep quiet. Do you know the VAP Act equally can prosecute, like there is a section in the VAP Act that equally speaks to people that actually watch that rape, how do you put it? That are rape apologists. The VAP Act equally, yes, the VAP Act equally speaks.
Make excuses.
Yes,
for
the VAP Act equally looks at addresses people that are actually just saying they saw the act. They probably did not participate in it, but they saw it, but they just ignored it. Oh, it's not our problem. Let's just go our way. So education is something that we just need to keep doing. Even the government itself needs to keep hearing these things. Let's see the need to domesticate the VAP Act in states. Let all the states in Nigeria domesticate this act. Let it be something that we see as a working document, as not just a document, as something that binds us, as something that protects us. We shouldn't wait till it's someone close to us that is affected before we know we should put in so much energy to get these things.
Okay.
Now, do you see, you know, a correlation between this other controversial issue about early marriage, you know, for women, and this issue of gender-based violence and all of that? How does it, you know, correlate here?
There is a correlation in the sense that you have people, like, okay, the Child Rights Act actually speaks to the fact that anybody that is under the age of 18, because when you're under the age of 18, you're a minor. You're not meant to even have anything to do with marriage. You're not meant to have anything to do with sexual relationships. But you still have some parts of the country that believe it's cultural for young girls to actually be married. So you have to, we still have all of that going on, debate. When is a girl seen as mature? Is it before she's 18? Is it when she's 18? And all of that. But legally, 18 is actually meant to be the age where a girl should be married and all. So you have issues of some young girls actually getting married or being betrothed and stuff. And some of them at the end of the day have fistula. They contact a lot of things because they are not even ready for it. It's still a form of abuse in itself. Because why will a girl even be used to trade? Like, there are some men that they probably have debts to cover. Some families, they have debts to cover. So they use their daughters. They trade their daughters. That's a form of violence.
Okay. All right. So now, in your time working with Wrapa, have you ever come in contact with a GBV victim who's HIV positive?
I've never come across any.
Okay.
Because also, there's a place of I don't know how to put it. There's a place of anonymity because you're trying to protect details. You don't want people to actually, because trust me, there's still this stigma when you find out that somebody has HIV. There are still people that will be like, oh, I shouldn't have touched her. I shouldn't. So we don't really, it's something secret because it's our clients.
Okay.
We don't.
All right. All right then. Well, thank you so much. We have to end the discussion here. We are happy to have you on the show. Hopefully you join us again another time.
Thank you for having me.
All right. We've been speaking with Damilola Idris. She is a program officer, Women Rights Advancement and Protection Alternative, giving us perspectives around gender-based violence. Thank you so much.